everybody, it's Amy Astro here and welcome back. This week we have a new video for you and it's going to be all about the tilt shift that's involved in your optical train. You know, have you ever wondered why all of a sudden, well not really all of a sudden, but you're noticing that you're pretty sure your back focus is correct, but you have one corner that has some elongated stars and it's pinpoint sharp here in the center, and then it could be elongated stars, or it could be sharp in this corner too. But you have one corner or another somewhere in your image that is not quite as in focus as you would like it to be. Well, this week I'm going to explain to you why that happens and how we can fix it, and it's a lot easier than I thought it was. So, let's get started. So folks, what's happened over the years with our cameras is we started out with very small sensors, which were easy to install in cameras and keep them aligned. Well, aligned is in perpendicular with the sensor to the end of your telescope. And now something is misaligned, whether it's the glass in your telescope, which is highly unlikely, but the camera sensors, they're not perfectly flushed the way they need to be to keep everything lined up. So they're parallel with each other. So there's a device out there that if you're noticing that your stars are really sharp in the middle and maybe in two corners, but in two corners are a little bit elongated, that's not your back focus that's the problem. It's the tilting, the shifting involved in your camera sensor. And what you need to get is something called a camera tilting unit, or a tilt shift as some people call them. And you put that in your optical train. You've got your camera, your filter wheel, and then you put this little device in here, which is the camera tilting unit. And then you put your spacers and flattener to accomplish your full back focus number that you require, okay? And this device is really kind of cool. It's in a donut type shape, and it has plates on it. And these plates they're two separate plates, and they're separated by some screws that go through. And these screws act as a push-pull situation that helps you get your optics back in alignment. You're not touching your camera at all. It's all happening in this little device. And when somebody pointed this out to me, this is really actually a brand new concept for me, because I was struggling trying to figure out that I'm pretty sure my back focus is correct, but my images weren't sharp corner to corner. And that's when some guys pointed out, I was like, well, you need to add this other piece to your equipment. And I was like, great, more money. Yes. But within one night, I chose a full moon night, I managed to get everything lined up, synced up, and my images are great now. Really, really great. So let me pop over to the computer. We'll show you a few images and the differences between having one of these and not having one of these makes. Now, if you're doing a mosaic type thing, you really do want your images sharp all the way from corner to corner, edge to edge, because you're only going to have a little bit of an overlap that you chop off for the next image to, seam in with your first image. But if you're planning on cropping all the way down into just the centerpiece, then do you really need one? Probably not. But do you want to limit yourself? Do you want to limit yourself to only having the center section of your image being good? I don't. If I take a picture, I want it all to be good, and I want to have the options to make mosaics and larger pictures if I want. Okay, so let me show you on the computer what it looks like. All right, folks, this is the camera tilting unit that I ended up going with. Now, this was recommended to me by another viewer. I didn't do a whole lot of research on a lot of other ones, But what I can tell you from this one that I really, really liked was once it was on my camera setup, that I only had these little set screws here on the outside walls that I had to adjust. These are up against my filter wheel, and I don't need to mess with them. Now, what I've been told is some of these screws with other manufacturers are hidden up against your filter wheel, so you constantly have to take this off and on to make your fine-tune adjustments. And well, in theory, that doesn't really work for me. This was a much easier setup. There are 3 larger screws here that you don't have to adjust at all. You leave them alone just as they're set up from the factory. And then there's these 6 other screws here that are, they're called fast screws is what this manufacturer is calling them, but they already come pre-loosened from the factory and I never touched them. I left them alone. The only thing I did was there's the 3 screws that are on the outside diameter. Those are the ones that I adjusted. And what I did is I took a silver Sharpie and I wrote on each one of them A, B, C. So I knew which one I was adjusting, and I took very careful notes saying I rotated letter A half a turn clockwise. And then I would go back to my computer, I would open up the software, take some pictures, run it through, and see what happened to my image. Okay, but this particular one is from a company named Gerd Neumann over in Germany. Now, I could not find any of these here in the US. Everybody had them on extended back order, but they were in stock at the manufacturer. So what I did is I ordered it from Germany. Now, I know that usually goes against everything that I try to do, but this is one of those cases where this was really a great product. I'm very, very happy with it so far. I ordered it. He reached out to me and asked me if I needed an adapter to it because I didn't think about that. And I told him that I was hooking it up to my ZWO filter wheel. And by doing that, that told him what adapter I needed to connect this unit to my filter wheel, and then the other side connects to spacers and then my field flattener. And that kind of customer service was really great. Now, because of the time difference, it did take a day to get that clarification taken care of, but that wasn't a huge deal. And then they kindly told me that they're sending everything out FedEx right now. It's a little bit more expensive, but I'll get it in a couple days. And I was like, okay, so I did the math and everything, and the math worked out that I was spending $15 less than if I had bought it here in the United States. So really, I think I got a pretty good deal. And you know what? I got it in 2 days. After I signed the order and paid for it, 2 days for it to make it from Germany to Georgia. It was just completely shocking. But I've been using this for a little while now, and I'm really, really happy for it. And let me just show you here. This is, on their website, but I have the same setup here almost. Well, do I? No, not really. But I have a camera. I have my filter wheel. I don't use off-axis guiding, so the camera tilt unit is connected directly to my filter wheel with the adapter that I purchased from them. And then I have a couple spacers, and then it goes into my night crawler and works great, okay? So check it out. I'm very happy with what they supplied me. And let me show you real quick the software that I used to accomplish everything. Okay, so what I did is I used a software, and it was called the CCD Inspector right here. They offer you a 30-day free trial to see if you even have an issue and need to purchase the software to continue using it. Or if you're lucky, you use their free download for 30 days and determine you have no problem, so don't worry about it, okay? But to start off with, I did not install anything in my image train. This is the very beginning before I touched anything. Now, I used their Framing a Mosaic in Sequence Generator Pro. I found an area of the sky that was visible to me, one that had a dense supply of stars, but nothing overly bright like these stars here that would blow anything out. And I have good stars, corner to corner, enough for me to take care of and work this out. But I went over here to Frame and Focus, and I took between 5 and 10-second images. I would take 5 of them, and I would check over here, and I would save them to my disk, okay? So once I had all of those images, I went over here to the CCD Inspector, and I said open, and I went and found those images here. I'm going to grab all 5 of them, and I'm going to open them. And now with all of these images open, I'm going to say measure all. All right, it has done calculating, and it has figured out these various things about my image. The full weight half measure of the image here, my background ADU, that's this one, contrast ratio, altitude, and all that. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to grab one of these images, and I'm going to come over here and say curvature. All right, so what this is showing me here is at the very beginning of everything, I have a curvature of 24.1%. My tilt in the X is 0.0 and the Y is 0.1, and I have a total tilt of 4%. And actually, starting out, this is incredible, and maybe I really didn't need to do anything, but doing nothing is, not really my style. What I've got here is in the center is dark blue. Dark blue is perfect focus, no elongations of my stars, and as it tends to get brighter out towards the edges, this is where I was seeing problems with my images, where the stars started to get more elongated. And where it's in the red down here in these corners, that's kind of in the oh my god section. We've got to do something about it. So I decided I was not happy, and I closed this out. I went outside, I dissected my image train, and I inserted the camera tilt unit. And then I came back, and I'm going to remove these images here. And I took 5 more images. Now, keep in mind, every time you do this, you have to run a focus routine. So I ran another focus routine with the new camera tilt unit in. Made sure everything was nice and sharp, okay? And don't forget your back focus. Do the math. Get your back focus spot on, because if it's not right, it's going to throw everything off, okay? So now that I have focus, I take 5 more images. I go back to the CCD Inspector. I open them. Now let's see. I am going to go all the way down. You can see all these times that I tried it. Things were out, back focus was out there, and I turned one counterclockwise, 1.5 turns, and I was very particular keeping up with these things. And then I came down to the final run, and I'm going to grab those 5 images and show you where it sits today. Okay, let's do a measure all. So now these numbers are starting to populate in, and look at this. My full weight half measure numbers are lower. My image is getting increasingly sharper with these adjustments that I made, okay? Let's go ahead and grab all of them this time. And I'm going to say curvature. And I believe what this does is it gives me an average of all of them. All of these numbers are really quite close together. And so far, I am very happy with this. Now, in all honesty, how long did it take me to do this? I used a full moon night. So it was really not a night that I could image, but naturally full moon nights are clear. God, why are they always clear on full moon nights? And I started about 8 o'clock at night, and I finished up about midnight. So that's about 4 hours. 4 hours of me going inside and outside, making the door alarm go off, waking up the house. They were not real happy with me that night. But, that's what happens sometimes. It was a little too chilly to stay outside the whole time, so I would go make a fine adjustment, make a note, come inside, focus, take more pictures, run it through the inspector, and then come up with a game plan of which screw I was going to adjust next. Okay, now this was my final run. Notice that the corners, they still have this teal color to them, but they're mostly blue. There is no white, there is no red. So this is a really good collimation job on this. Now, I do have a total tilt of 6%, which in reality, that is a larger tilt than when I started. So why would I do this? Well, it might be a larger tilt, but it's an even tilt, okay? My images don't have those really long stars. Now, I do get a little bit of elongation down here, but it is not enough to worry about. My focus is sharp from here all the way down to here. No problem whatsoever. And it says my collimation is 1.1 seconds, which is very good. My minimum and maximum full weight half measures, they are 2.58 to 3.12, which is really, really good for focus, for an even star field. And after 4 hours and me keeping my house up at night, I decided this is where I was going to stop for the night. Now, I can go back and adjust this now, but after a few imaging runs, I'm really happy with the results that I got. All right, guys, so let me put my money where my mouth is. This is one of the first images I took before I started anything. Let me zoom in. And what I want you to notice here, I'm in the middle of the image, just about, yep. And these stars look really sharp. Now let's bring it over here to the edge. And look at that. My stars are starting to turn into eggs, and that's in the edge of the image. Now let's go up to that corner. This is the top corner. Look at this. Look at the size of those stars, okay? This image is not that long of an exposure. Let's see, how long is this exposure? All right, so we're going to look at this fits image header here for it, and let's remind myself, how long was this exposure? All right, this exposure was 1 minute. At 1 minute, any mount out there should be able to track without any guiding or any problems. And keep in mind, I am actually guiding through all of this, and my guiding chart was outstanding. And the corner of my image looks like I have pieces of rice in it. Now let's go look at that other corner. And this one has elongated stars. Now I believe this is where the red was on my image, which is upside down from what we saw, but that's the nature of how cameras and lenses work. Here's the bottom corner, not so bad. And let's go over here to the other side of the bottom corner. And that's not so bad either, still a little bit of a football situation. Now here's a picture that I took last night, and it's of Thor's helmet. And this is a single 5-minute exposure, HA. And you can see my image is beautifully sharp in the center. Let's drag it over to the edge here and take a look. These are beautifully sharp. Are we seeing an improvement? The telltale will be up here in this corner. Those are beautiful stars in my corner. Okay, it is nothing like the elongated stars that I previously had in the corner. So even though it now says I have a 6-degree tilt on it versus the 4-degree tilt that I started with, my images today are far better than when I started. So again, this was it was a good investment for me. It wasn't a huge cost. It's about average for anything we pay in Astro. And again, I purchased mine from Gerd Neumann out of Hamburg in Germany. I spoke with the owner himself. It was really quite cool. We went back and forth. He made sure that I had the correct adapter for what I needed, and their instructions that came with this were spot on, easy, clear instructions. So guys, how did you like that? Did you ever realize that it's not always back focus that it's our problem? Sometimes it's actually the camera sensor is not perfectly aligned with your optics. Who knew? I didn't know, but I am so grateful for you out there who pointed that out to me and educated me. And you spent a little bit of time with me online. You told me how to do something, what I needed to purchase to accomplish it, and I am eternally grateful that you took the time to teach me how to do something. So now I've taken the time to teach the world. This is just such a great community where we all teach each other how to do certain things. But again, I purchased my camera tilt unit from Gerd Neumann over there in Hamburg, Germany. I received it in 2 days after I paid for it, and I ended up paying for less than what I would have purchased it here in the US, and there weren't anyone here that offered it for sale that wasn't on an extended back order. So go figure on that one. And it came with these 2 documents. One is a beautiful diagram on how it's all put together. The other is a single page, well written set of instructions. Very, very easy to figure out how to operate the device. Now, how to use CCD Inspector was a little bit harder because there really aren't very many YouTube videos out there, especially current ones with the new version. All right, so thank you to the folks that took time to reach out to me and tell me what it was all about, because without you, I couldn't have accomplished this. So thank you so much. So if you haven't already done this, please consider subscribing below. Hit that alert bell so you know when I upload new Astro-related videos. Don't forget to like this video, smash it, share it with all your Astro friends. I appreciate each and every one of you. Don't forget, you can also find me on Patreon, where I give you a little bit extra that's actually quite good. I have a video on YouTube that's yours to watch for free anytime you want. But along with that video, I took the time to make a PDF file for you that is step-by-step how to process an image. And I give you the files so you can process the same image right alongside me. And it's a really, really good foundation on how to do things. And the bonus with that is you're going to find out throughout my process, I don't use a lot of script routines. Script routines, I find, tend to break from version to version of Pixid site, and it's very frustrating. Some last a long time, but some they change just a little bit, and it's frustrating to me. But you know what doesn't break is knowing how to do things from the ground up, step by step, tried and true. It doesn't fail. Okay, so consider that when you think you want a shortcut way of a batch routine, and it doesn't always work, and you just wasted an hour of time for it. It seems to happen to me a lot more than I wish it would. But that's me on my soapbox, guys. Thank you so much for watching this video. I look forward to seeing you all in the next video. And don't forget, I wish you guys great health, clear skies, and I will see you all in the next video. Goodbye, y'all. I love you.
We're driving cars on a Mars tonight. We're blasting off to the stars tonight.